So, no less than 3 Supreme Court judges and a whole barrel full of lawyers formally saying explicitly that the UK is breaking international law right now by sending arms to Israel, selling arms to Israel. How exactly are we breaking international law?
Well, they're saying it because Israel, de facto, they're saying they're guilty of war crimes.
Because the International Court of Justice said there is a plausible case that Israel is guilty of genocide in the case brought by South Africa. It didn't come down absolutely definitively, but there is a case.
Right.
Now, under the Genocide Convention, which the UK signed, Israel signed after the Second World War and the Nazi atrocities, genocide is to destroy in whole or part a group of people. You look at the devastation in Gaza. Where has anyone got left to live, even when the fighting stops? You've had 33,000 people killed, majority of them women and children, so there can't be combatants, there can't be Hamas fighters. And if Britain is supplying arms to the state, Israel, that is accused of doing that, then you're aiding and abetting.
But this is why I think those judges have slightly jumped the gun, because Kevin just said accused.
Accused of.
It's accused of. As judges know, you've got to have a...
Well, you have to be innocent until proven guilty.
Yes.
Now, look, I mean, look, I would argue, I don't agree with this stuff about the genocide, but I would say what happened with the aid workers, they looked to me like they were being hunted and targeted deliberately. And if that was the case, that is without a doubt a war crime, because they're under the International Court and under Geneva Convention.
But then that will all take time, won't it, to investigate, to get the proof. Should we just listen to what Rishi Sunak had to say about this? Because he was interviewed yesterday by Harry Cole from The Sun, and he talked about the processes that are in place to do with the arms exports. Let's have a look.
Right, I want to be clear on what you said, Kevin. Are you saying, and you've been studying this overnight, are you saying that simply by being accused of breaching human rights, of genocide, simply by being accused at the UN, that means that the conventions that this country has signed up to means that from that point of the accusation, we have to stop selling arms to Israel?
But it's not an accusation without evidence. If you look at what is occurring, which is why you have the 600 judges, academics, all legal experts. Now, Rishi Sunak is sitting on his own legal advice on whether Israel is breaching humanitarian law, whether it is using starvation as a weapon, hence targeting of aid workers. Remember,
but is the accusation in itself a reason for us to stop sending arms to Israel legally?
I think it is now, because if you look at what's happening, I think it's quite clear that Israel is committing war crimes. I think it's just absolutely clear. Yep, there may not have been a definitive judgment in a court of law, but it is quite clear.
But they're saying what happened yesterday was due to the fog of war. But 2 days ago, they're saying it was a fog of war, not a deliberate attempt.
And, of course, they want to focus entirely on 7 people rather than 200 or so other aid workers have been killed. And nearly 33,000 people, the vast majority women and children.
Is there a mechanism for saying, OK, we suspend it while it's under investigation? Or is it, you know, as Rishi Sunak was saying, what we've just heard from him there are clear rules, there are procedures, there are ways that this is dealt with, and he's waiting for the legal advice.
I think there is an inquiry of what happened with the aid workers, and it has to be swift.
Look,
hang on, Kevin, it has to be swift, and I think accusations are not enough to change a policy. They're accused of genocide. It's not proven, that case. It's not proven. And Israel would say they've got to take this extreme measure to try and eliminate Hamas, which is dedicated to eradicating the state of Israel off the map.
The UK has twice before suspended arms sales to Israel. In 1982, the Conservatives were in power, Margaret Thatcher.
Because of the invasion of Lebanon.
And then again in 2002 when Labour were in...
So we've done it before.
So we've done it before, but they clearly don't want to do it. But Rishi Sunak saying there's clear and careful procedures, that's a load of baloney. Because you look at what's happened with Saudi Arabia and in the Yemen, where the Houthis markets have been attacked, hospitals attacked, schools attacked. He's done everything he can, as previous prime ministers have in the current run of Conservatives, to supply weapons to the Saudis, because they give us lots of oil and they buy lots of our weapons, and it's ka-ching, ka-ching.
But this is all symbolic hot air.
Yeah, because how much of a difference did it make? 0.02%.
It's like pea shooters.
Those components are key to some of the aircraft
they can get that
munitions
stuff
supplied by the US.
Is it more of the sign that it sends out?
More significant, Charlotte, would be if the United Kingdom said we can no longer support what Israel are doing diplomatically. That would be far more significant.
But this is a real conundrum, isn't it? Because if America, and you're right, America holds the key to this, if America were to suspend sales of arms and equipment associated with fighting, essentially, to Israel, Israel would quite rapidly come under serious threat from Hamas, from the terrorists. I mean, in order to defend themselves, they do need weaponry.
They're too small to fight on their own.
Absolutely.
No, but hang on. Israel is a nuclear-armed state, an absolutely nuclear-armed state with highly sophisticated weapons and huge stockpiles. They would have to fight and oppose Hamas in another way. Now, fighting and opposing Hamas is perfectly legitimate. Defending yourself is perfectly legitimate. The pogrom on October the 7th didn't go out of a clear blue sky. There's all issues of occupation and oppression and stealing people's land, which is Israel, colonising the West Bank.
Remotely justified.
And these, no, absolutely not. Not the rape and the murder and the taking of hostages, which Hamas did. No. But you can combat Hamas in ways that do not involve obliterating and killing huge numbers of innocent Palestinians.
What would you do? If you were the Israeli Prime Minister, how would you combat Hamas without using the tactics of using them?
I would now secure a ceasefire and the release of the remaining hostages. Remember when there was a ceasefire? It was only briefly. It was about a week.
And Hamas have said
they got more than 100 hostages out. They've rescued 3.
Hamas have already
we know they've killed 3.
And said quite openly that if there is when there is a ceasefire, they will use that space to rebuild. And they've said they'll do it again.
How are they going to get weapons into that area? Now it is closely guarded. The Israelis used to say it was sealed off, but they took their eye off the ball because they were so busy colonising the West Bank with Netanyahu's far-right settler
what do you think about what the way forward could be?
A ceasefire suggests that Hamas will be signed up to the aims of peace. Hamas wants to destroy Israel. That is in their DNA. They make no secret about it. What we have to have is a pause, a humanitarian pause, just to let things calm down.
I just think, in the meanwhile, it's an awful situation, isn't it, for those people? You know, we know that the aid operations have been paused from some charities because they just don't feel it's safe enough to work. And I was reading this from one of the charities that's saying that essentially there's a number of people there who are living on the equivalent of a can of beans a day, and that is all they've got.
And I think that is part of Israel's strategy to try and starve them into submission.
And then out of Gaza.
Which is brutal.
And that's the accusation is out of Gaza. We're coming up to the 6th anniversary. Remember Netanyahu going to get Hamas, destroy Hamas? They haven't, as far as we are aware, yet got the leadership of Hamas. Yeah, but they've killed 20,000 plus children and women in Gaza. But they haven't got. You know, if they got the leadership of Gaza, I wouldn't shed a tear. I might even give a little cheer.
Well, the leadership of Hamas are reportedly not in the country. They're reportedly not in the area.
But there's the...
Could be in Iran. They could be in Iran.
Yeah, but they were... Well, there was always a leadership outside the country and a leadership in the country. Now, those in the country could have disappeared. You're quite right. But where are the 100-plus other hostages? Hopefully, they are alive, or the vast majority are alive. But there's huge unrest now in Israel over these tactics.
But Kevin, but also this bloodshed figure is so high, partly because Hamas deliberately used the people in Gaza.
No question
human
about
shields,
that.
without a doubt.
Hang on, but
they've gone into hospitals deliberately, and they've still got that extraordinary network of underground tunnels.
Who is dropping the bombs and firing the shells? And look, what happened to the 7 aid workers speaks about a wider operational tactic by the Israelis, which is shoot anybody. Remember when the 3 hostages managed to escape? The escape would believe, at the time, not wearing shirts, so they couldn't have suicide vests. I think one was waving a white flag, could have been just a white garment. And I understand there's a lot of confusion in war. But Israeli forces killed the 3. It's almost as if anyone moves, you are a target.
All right, let's move on.